I-V-M.
For all you nerds out there who love to read comic books, watch superhero movies and debate about that, we have a cool podcast suggestion for you. Check out Geek Fruit, which comes out every Monday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you listen to podcasts. It features Jishnu, Tejas, Dinkar, and sometimes me as well. Isn't that funny? A gay nerd? Check it out.
You're listening to Keeping It Queer with Navin Noronha.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Keeping It Queer. I say welcome back because we've been gone for a while. This is
how long has it been?
It's been a couple of inches more than it's.
You think people are surprised to hear my voice in the beginning of this episode?
I think they are. But by now.
Do you think they know who I am?
I don't care. No, I think because we're going to package it in a way where your face is also on the poster now. So I think by now they'll know. It's like one of those Spider-Man reveals where they're like, Spider-Man is dead in one movie, but then here's a trailer for another movie.
I was so happy when Spider-Man died. Yeah. I'm not trying to be sensational. Just, I don't care about Spider-Man. Ooh. Except when I saw Multiverse.
Oh, that was amazing.
Fuck, what a great movie.
So a lot to catch up on as usual. Farhad is here with me. And we're shaking things up. We're keeping it queer as usual. Mm-hmm. But surprisingly, we're living in a post-377 India now. Mm-hmm. And who would have thunk? But everybody for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
But here we are, and it's a good time to be alive. It's a good time to catch up.
Is it? Has life changed much post 377?
It has.
Yeah.
Not much, but like I
Tell
see
me
a
three
drastic
good things
shift.
that happened since 377 was.
The common janta knows about the law. They know that gay people exist and it's not a minority anymore.
Okay.
They're easing up on the housing for a lot of queer people now. It's not a problem for a lot of queer people who want to live as partners.
Sure.
And awareness in general has become more, and with the queer population as well, more people are coming out. I'm receiving more messages about young queer people who are 18, depressed, but still talking about their queerness, So all of these are factoring into it, but at the same time, homophobes are also at large, with more violence being exhibited every day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a convoluted time, but it's good to be alive, right? What do you think? You're the cynic.
I honestly, I'm fuck.
I'm sorry.
It's just the thing is everybody's starting to call me a cynic, and
it's getting to you.
It's not getting to me because I agree. And I don't like it when people tell me something that I agree with. I get it, yeah.
How dare you call me what I am?
Yeah, and I'm not a cynic. I'm just like, if you had to ask me how did my life change after 377, I don't know what to say. I feel like I just lived just the way that I did pre-377.
Yeah.
All the top three things that you said have maybe changed after 377. I've not noticed it everywhere. I did feel like this time I saw Pink List. Have you seen Pink List? Yeah, I felt like,
thing,
that's the only time I felt like, wow, there's so much more representation in politics now.
Yeah, so that's something because you consume Instagram on a massive level, right?
Oh my God.
So for you, Pink List makes sense because it came in your radar of operating on a level, right?
Sure.
And for listeners who don't know what Pink List is, by now the elections are over. But it was a list of queer candidates who are not only queer but also people who support queer rights in general and have something about LGBT population in their manifesto. And that's what it spoke about, and a lot of people were again aware about it because celebrities started talking about it. And generally there was a trans activist from Bombay who was trying to raise funds to contest in the elections, and unfortunately they did not get the amount they needed to really make the funds happen. So that's also a weird thing to be in, because while we have people who are brave enough to want to go and elect themselves, to represent a bunch of people, but are those people ready to have a trans person? So it's a very difficult conversation to have, but it's important that they start doing this,
and
eventually.
at least it's out there that this is a possibility now, that this can happen.
And
it does, doesn't it happen? I feel like I hear the best news comes out of Kerala always, especially in the LGBTQ case, and I feel like they are light years ahead of the rest of India. We got to catch up with Kerala right now. So I get what you're saying, in terms of seeing representatives in-house who not only fight for us but belong to our community. That's a great thing.
Yeah, so Hari Shair famously joined Congress this past summer. And it's again, something's happening, right? It's not like we have no representation anymore. And a lot of people ask Harish if he's really going to tackle queer rights as a topic, and people might feel different ways about someone representing us, but I just feel that at least now we have that happening, right? From zero representation to now having something. like we all talk about how we milk and how we change shit up back in the day. But here we are, two queers just like sitting here and faffing about, while someone else is doing all the hard work. So that's what it's about.
This is our contribution.
This is our contribution.
This is it.
We try to help you out with your traveling troubles. Like people listen to it while going to work and shit, right? So it's good to have
You
them.
can be gay while you're on the train.
Yeah.
I think people already know that.
Hey, on that note, my video is coming out soon. So
what's the video about?
So it's a bunch of things. Like I'm releasing 3 videos.
Okay.
And one of them is going to talk about my upbringing in my town, which was Bhayandar.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and how it is. And and the next one is going to be about coming out to
Something
my
so
family.
homoerotic about that name only, Bhai Andar.
Yeah, that's a joke I needed to drop because Raju Srivastava did that joke already.
Oh.
Yeah,
Raju Srivastava cracked it as like a gay joke,
not as a gay joke.
Okay.
Just like Bhai Andar Chal sa.
Acha Bhai Andar Chal.
Like all those puns like माँ लाड करती है and all of that. गार्ड के ऊपर क्या है, all of those stuff. Anyway, अंधेरी में क्या अंधेरा है, all of that shit. Okay.
Why did I start this?
Exactly. So I didn't want to go down that route.
Shit, I'm sorry.
My jokes, I hope, are a little more nuanced than that.
Okay.
But one more video is on coming out to my family. Like that's been a real task in the past few months because there's been a lateral shift in my life. By that I mean I had to move out.
I felt like
you
came out a long time ago, didn't you?
I came out a long time ago, but does coming out really stop? Like because
no man. Okay, I know what you're talking about. I've had to come out to my parents like 5 times.
Exactly.
Maybe.
So mine was like this was the 4th attempt.
Now at this point I don't even call it coming out. I'm just like yearly reminder.
Yeah.
that I'm into dick.
Like biannual reminder that I'm bi.
Hello. And what I love is they are just as surprised each time. It never dims. My dad still goes like, oh, okay, I did not know. And I'm like, we've had this conversation so many times. It comes from a sweet place. It's not like, it's like, I guess it's selective memory, It's one of those things that they just rather not keep in their frontal lobe functioning for too long. They just tend to forget.
And my parents would also like to forget about it, except I don't let them. So I'm always in the popular media, talking about it. But I know there's certain things that my family won't ever understand about my lifestyle or whatever. But I think it's just my duty to at least ease them into it because I've not just been jolting them with the reality, right? I've just very nicely because I understand where they are coming from also. Okay. So their background is very orthodox, church going and very hardcore.
Sorry, I need to ask you. Have your parents did they ever have any issues with some sort of material in your routine? Like they said, I wish you'd not said that.
Everything they talk about, they're don't talk about it.
Oh my God.
My mom asked me after 4 years of doing comedy, she was like, what have you been doing in comedy? Show me. Because people talk about your videos and I can't access YouTube. She's not that aware of YouTube. God. So I showed her one video which is still the most tame video of all the others I have. I have 4 videos out. None of them went viral or whatever, but it was my attempt at trying to put out back then. The one I had was called Pigeons, which was about just pigeons being stoners.
Okay.
And there I said Mother Chod once, and she was not talking to me for a week after that. So,
oh my God.
So I can't show her the coming out one.
I guess they take it as is this a reflection of our upbringing
and all of that, yeah.
God.
The one I have in Christianity is rather hardcore about.
Oh my God.
So
yeah.
A lot of things. Again, as I say, I didn't have to come out once. I had to come out a multiple number of times because of the fact that you don't find acceptance first in your line of work, then your faith, then your sexuality, then your sober behavior or whatever. Just you have to clarify yourself on every level. Yeah. And some people just continue living in that lie because a lot of friends of mine who are just
it's easier.
Yeah, it's easier. Them. Just be what a pativrata or whatever at home. No, it's not pativrata. It's pavam, I guess, at home.
Okay,
that's a word. Okay. And then they go outside and they're berserk. Most Jain friends of mine, as Jain as they are, none of Jains.
Okay.
Jain. Yeah.
Gentiles.
So they obviously my friends are people who drink and eat chicken outside their house, and then they go home and again they're in their whole semi-nude avatar walking
around. Jai Shri Krishna.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's never going to be easy for our parents to accept us.
Yeah.
But I tried.
Okay.
And what was for them a big issue was I was now publicly dating also. So like that was not in the. I've dated of course in the past, but never told them about it. Like even when I was in Dubai, remember, like I was dating somebody from Abu Dhabi.
You told me.
So I went to Dubai for a week to live with them, like just chill with them for a vacation. I told them I'm going for a job hunt thingy, and. Back then, they were really happy if I moved to Dubai also. They were like, let's go with your gay ass.
Yeah, that's kind of a small Christian dream everywhere.
Yeah. So then I didn't go, obviously, and then everything didn't work out. But I could not tell them that this was why I was going through some, emotional trouble back then. But then finally I told them about my new boyfriend. He's young, he's cute. So I was like, okay, you want to meet him? My mom was like, yeah, sure. So I got him over for Christmas lunch. And just to buffer it, I called my best friend and my manager also. So there was like other people who were involved in the conversation. And even then my mom was just constantly bickering about like he didn't tell us about this till very late in his life. And we were like, we were not...
Sorry, what? As in your boyfriend did not? Or you did not?
Me coming out to my family.
Okay.
My mom's complaint is that I didn't come out on time.
Earlier.
I should have come earlier. They would have prepared themselves for this eventual whatever. And my best friend is like, just like, I know your mom loves you, but like... You can't let her just like live in the delusion that she's never going to have you back as the son she wanted and all of that. I'm like, okay, fucking
heavy. Yeah.
And then the pride happened, right? The pride happened in Feb, and I just put a photo of me and my boyfriend standing together next to each other, just like shoulder, pay, head, and all of that stuff. Sure. And some fucking family relative found it and then started circulating in the family WhatsApp group apparently. Or somewhere, like they have this whole nexus going on, fucking idiots. And if you're listening, my cousins, I fucking hate y'all. Fucking die. Motherfucking pieces of shit. You bad genetic motherfuckers. Anyways, I have a lot of rants too, like. But see how pacified I am about it?
Yeah.
So my mom created an issue about that. They're like, you can't just put this out that you're with a guy and all of. I'm like, come on, man. Like, how much? Like, you say that you're accepting me, but you're not accepting me for who I am.
See, really. But I feel like, Naveen, and I don't know if this is not advice in any way, but like, I just feel like you cannot have this work at a pace that anybody else decides, right? Like whether, like even when you say that your mom was pissed off that you did not tell her earlier, I don't see that as a you problem. I see that as a her problem. And I feel like these are all mini me pity parties, like it's not about her. And I don't mean that in a, oh my God, she's not right to think like that. I get where she's coming from. It's also borderline sweet that she felt like, I wish you would have come out earlier. That's a sweet gesture. But I felt like I'm someone who's just, again, done something, who wanted to do the way he wanted to, when he wanted to do it. And I don't mean that in a brazen way, but like, I just was very good at not letting anyone put a spin on how I want my life to progress in any way, or put any sort of speed, pace it up, pace it down. No, boys have done that, but externally, I was never like... I never gave anybody the power to do that. So I feel like that's where it comes from. So whether it's cousins who I hope they don't die, but like...
The thing is, like, see, I came out a long time back. Like, I was publicly out in a comedy show by 21.
Okay.
Or 22, I think. But then the thing is, I didn't tell my family because I knew that I had to be financially dependent on myself and all of that jazz. So I did that. And for the longest time, I kept it under wraps. Like, I was still playing the straight boy role on Facebook and Instagram, right? Until, like, now, post 377, I believe that, okay, now there'll be a little bit of a leeway in terms of people expressing themselves. And that was not the final nail in the coffin, by the way. That was already an issue, and that became a problem afterwards. Then Feb happened, and, like, we went to the whole range of not talking to each other, being mad at each other, me coming late at night, sometimes stoned, sometimes drunk, just to, like, go to sleep directly, all of that jazz. And all of that jazz. The truth always escapes my mouth. So, and then, like, I was living more with my boyfriend. He was in Santa Cruz, and I would, like, spend more time in his house.
This is the one you're dating right now. Sorry, how long has it been?
It's been over 9 months now. Yeah.
Oh, cute. 9 months.
Yeah, we delivered a cat recently.
Okay, sorry, you can't bring up cat and not tell me about the cat.
I told you about the cat.
But what's the cat called? Like,
Quill.
Quill.
Yeah.
Okay, Quill is from Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's from Gardcoper, yeah. No, Quill is like a pen, like a poet's pen, right? Like one of those old Shakespeare.
Okay.
Like my boyfriend and I both are writers, so like a Quill is a very...
Okay.
Not Peter Quill.
Okay.
Anyways. And he's adorable. You can see him on my Instagram.
Okay.
But so I would spend more time with him. My mom's like, "Where were you?" And I would tell my friend Gia's house because it's easier to just tell that she knows her also. But I was lying that I was not at my boyfriend's place. And then after 377 had happened in September last year, I had put a story of me kissing my boyfriend, okay? And it was like, because I was in Kolkata and he was in Bombay and we had not met each other during the verdict. It was just like one of those, and I'm like, when I'm in a relationship, I'm like out and out queer. I'm just like celebrating my love life. I'm like, if you have a problem, you turn your eyes away. It's again like, it's a you problem, not my problem, right? And I don't care how many people unfollow me in that regard, because I am being my authentic self in my life right now, and that's who I am. So one of my cousins again just like went back in time to my story highlights from September, dug out that photo of me kissing him and took a screenshot, and then again it was again in the family. And then my sister first talked to me about it, and now my sister,
this is your real sister,
my real sister, okay? And my real sister, she's been like through some shit, and I empathize with her the most in my family, because she's like really seen difficulties and everything. So much so that her firstborn child is also like autistic. He's not like in the best state of mind, right? And I love that kid to like death. I when I was growing up with him, he was there in my arms all the time, and like, you know, I was there for him. But my sister, without thinking, called me abnormal around that time, right? So that was like really like driving me nuts, that like you should be more empathetic towards my life when you have someone who's not entirely there in your family, right? Like you understand that other people have different lifestyles or choices that they can't run for themselves. So I was like, okay, I'll tell mom, like, do you think we are 5-year-old now? Like, you could snitch me out about this? Fucking go and tell her. So she told her. And then my mom was like, you know what, just like, up and leave, like, just like, go, you know, like, we don't want this toxicity here. And that's what, like, I had to, like, in one afternoon, I was just like, I have to just take everything I ever owned from my family and ever, like, you know, in my house.
I did not know this. I'm sorry to hear that.
So I just like, I felt like I needed to open up about this, because it's like, I just want to put it on record that, you know, again, because this whole show has been a diary of my life, so to say, and this is a new chapter where I was not ready for this, but like I wanted to do this for the longest time. Like, you know, I keep cribbing about comedy happening in Bandra and Kharsad, and I'm traveling all the way every day, 1 hour plus. So for me, like, life is much easier now. And the fact that nobody wants to leave home on a bad note, really. So, but after the month, we eased into it. We didn't talk to each other. My mom and I don't think anybody else in my family really matters so much, because they're not my point of contact, so to say, because they don't share that emotional connection that me and my mother share, really. My father's always in the background, so to say. But my mom and I like really didn't, we felt that urge, okay, we have that whole thing, right? You know, we want to call each other and tell each other about our shit, but we can't right now, because that whole thing happened. And my boyfriend, thankfully, that day, like when I was leaving, I have one entire suitcase full of books, okay? And I'm like, what do I do with it? I don't have any space to pack any more clothes. So he from Santa Cruz took a cab and rushed all the way to Bhayandar and got 2 more suitcases so I could pack more shit, and just like took everything in one go.
He's a keeper.
He was going to be here for the recording, but he's not here. But like then you know, we got our own place, our own little thing going on right now, and it's been a challenge altogether, like, you know. And I want to document everything while it was going on, but it was so much chaos in my life in general. You know, like making ends meet and all of that. But now I've landed on my feet.
And it totally plays to the cliche, right? It's for the good.
It's for the good.
You suddenly found way more freedom to do what you want, to explore who you are. Especially when I feel like sometimes I really zoom out of this entire sexuality spectrum and all, and I really feel like it is all just one big fight for authenticity, to find authenticity or become more authentic and all. And this just, from whatever you said, it just all sounds like little Jenga blocks into... Actually, Jenga is not a good example, but you know what I mean.
Puzzle pieces.
It'll, a jigsaw. It'll all fit.
And that's what, like, I spoke about this on Instagram as well, like, about relatives and how I feel about all of this going, you know, people snooping into my life. And I'm like, see, a part of me is a public figure who is a comic. A part of me is a queer person who enjoys this personal space as well. So it's a blend of that will always happen, where I let you into my life, like even your Instagram, right? Like you allow people to peep into what your life is all about, while at the same time recommending great stuff. That's what I do. I try to keep my profile as approachable to people as possible. But sometimes this happens, right? If they snoop on you and all of that, it makes me angry. But people told me that this is not a gay problem, really. It's like for a young girl in India, if she's also dating somebody's always snooping and finding out what she's doing. And I'm like, okay, I understand. This is a bigger issue with people just not letting people be, you know, just like
just being nosy.
Everybody can just exist, and you don't have to like treat people like your property and owning them, and it's just annoying.
These are like little highs for them, like their lives are so mundane sometimes and so like filled with drudgery that when something like this happens, they just, it's like a little, oh my God, my cousin kisses another dude.
Because
which is why, right, I sometimes listen to podcasts from around the world and I never hear these kind of like, you never hear, like especially with comedians who are LGBTQ and all, this is just not a part of their struggle. And sometimes I feel like this is such a problem endemic to like India.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? We're the first generation of queer comics or queer people who will have this issue right now.
Sure.
The next generation will not be like,
It'll be like, they're like, I see it already.
Because they'll be like, I think tomorrow they'll be like, Dad, I'm straight. Like, what is your problem? Why can't you be gay? Why can't you have a USP, you normal ass child? That's the world I'm envisioning. Anyways, there's been a lot of ranting on my side. We'll take a small break and we'll catch up with Farhad's life because he's been doing something.
Not much. But even before we go into commercial, there's not much. So
shut up. We have to give something to like get him back after the break.
You'll have to coax it out of me.
I will. Okay. I shall coax it out of him. Okay. We are on Keeping It Queer. This is the first episode of season 3. We'll be back soon.
Hey everybody, welcome to another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please make sure you do. We're IVM Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Speaking of social media, one of the things that we really enjoy doing is we love seeing screenshots of people listening to our shows. So if you're listening to something and you want to let us know what you think about things, just take a screenshot, post it to Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever, and tag us, and we'll tag you back, and we'll talk to you, and we'll let you know what we think or what do you think. We'd also like to thank our sponsors for this month, Savari, Storytel, and Paytm Money. We really appreciate the support. Also, on another note, an IVM-related note, we're looking to hire. We're looking for producers, content creators, audio engineers, back-end developers. We're looking for somebody in the data specialist kind of space, graphic designers. We're looking for all different kinds of people. So if you want to join one of the best places to work there is out there, then send us an email to careers@indusvox.com with your resume, and we'll get back to you shortly. On Cyrus Says, actress and soon-to-be director Tiska Chopra talks to Cyrus about her childhood in Afghanistan, how she got pulled into acting, her new original web series Hostages, and how she's looking to write and direct more in the future. On the Rani Screwwala podcast, Rani talks to me about the pursuit of inflection points, understanding the size of markets, and the importance of brand in creating scales. Speaking of the Rani Screwwala podcast, if you want to send us some questions for Rani for his last episode, then please do so. It's at shows@indusvox.com. In case you missed it, check out episode 4 of The Note with Maruk Inayat. She lists 5 reasons why Rahul Gandhi stepping down is the right decision. On Shunya One, Sheila Ditya and I are joined by Sachin Parekh, founder of Easy Roads. Easy Roads is a great platform that allows you to do local road trips, and we discuss the startup and the tech behind it and local travel. On the Empowering series, Zarina talks to Hetal Desai, Senior VP at N Paradigm. They discuss different reasons why people quit their jobs, the importance of interpersonal relationships between employees and employers, and more. On the Pragati podcast, economist Anupam Manur is in conversation with Pawan about where Britain stands in regards to Brexit 3 years later and why it has cost them 2 prime ministers. And with that, let's continue on with your show.
Alright, welcome back on Keeping It Queer. I'm Navin Noronha, your host, and with me is my co-host Farhad Karkaria.
Hey.
So, Farhad, we spoke about my life and how it's been. Mm-hmm. I didn't really mean for this episode to be all morose so much, but then...
No, it wasn't. You're being vulnerable.
That's what I am. That's who I am. I don't let my...
I feel that should be the tone of season 3. That should... no, that's what it should
Morosity?
be. Just not tone. Tone is the wrong word, but that should be the theme where we just like... Hey, this is us, this is our life, and
we can't afford therapy, so here we are
oh my God.
opening up about our shit.
Yeah,
it's good.
Yeah.
So you've been posting a lot of stories about your dad's
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. So he obviously is not keeping so well.
So I'll tell you what happened, and I'm glad you said that because before the break, I said that not much is going on in my life. It's just my priorities have changed. My dad met with a bike accident in November. He literally escaped with just a scratch. But what happened was he banged his head in that accident. Again, just 1 stitch is all he got. But what it did was it sort of... activated his Alzheimer's. He's 68 and he's got Alzheimer's, and even though the neurosurgeon told us that, okay, you know what, like, wow, this is going morose again.
Chalega,
yeah,
okay.
chalega.
I want to listen.
No, and it's my life right now, so I don't mind talking about it. But what has happened was basically, because he's 68, usually Alzheimer's, if it starts a little earlier, that's when it's a problem. But the neurosurgeon told us that, hey, since it's happening so late in life, the process will be slow and everything, and just keep an eye on him. Basically, it's not something to worry about. And I don't know what happened, man. I just felt like, again, to put it in a gay context, I just feel like there's some sort of distance you always have with your parents. You know, you always have this invisible valley or like a crevice.
You observe them from a distance,
because you just don't expect them to be on your side. So there's always some sort of invisible distance.
And you have a guard against them.
Yeah, and this is the first time I feel like I need to make an effort to actively be there in his life or like be there for him. Not that he requires any help. He's a fully functional, still, like, we don't feel like there's anything wrong. If anything, actually, we feel like things have turned for the better. He's more humorous. He's become more like childish. It's lovely. It's actually lovely to see him like this. But yeah, I just felt like everything's been not put on hold, but boys, sex, everything in some way has taken a backseat. And again, we live in different cities. My dad's not in Bombay and he's in Pune. But I like to now whenever I have the time, I just rather like spend some time with him, whether it's even watching him scroll through WhatsApp for hours or like watch some shitty news channel or just doze off sometimes or just feed him. I just love cooking for him all the time, and I do that, and
so
it's
sweet.
Little joys I've had.
And you've been capturing those glimpses, like there's
I do.
an eye to you.
You know, and that's the thing, like, again, for those who I have on Instagram, I had like a lot of people, like your cousins, I had a lot of people who did not have a problem, but they were like, hey, why do you have to put all of this out? And trust me, I sugarcoated it, because the moment I was in the hospital and he was out for a couple of days after that accident, I just felt like, I don't know if this is a horrible thing to say, but something in my head said that this is his home run, like this is, you know,
the last hurrah.
Yeah, I don't know why. Which is a very stupid thing. I know right now my shrink would be like, shut the fuck up. That's a very stupid thing to think, because you can't preempt anything. But I just felt like, no, I want to capture this side of his life. So you don't even get to see the tough times, you know, the times when diapers have been soiled or he has to be bathed. And those things I did not even put out, but I have recorded all of it as just like a capsule in time. And I'll tell you what, I come from a very dysfunctional family. I come from a very in a way, I would just say broken, straight up. Like we are not a good unit at all. In my house, like, a conversation about bread can suddenly escalate into the worst fight, or like something as basic as that. You know what I mean? I give the bread example because that actually happened just a week ago.
I believe you.
I just felt like something about this accident, something about his condition sort of brought us together in some weird way. And not that we are functional as a unit, but everybody knew that, you know, that cliche about family is all you got. And as much as I don't agree with that, I don't feel, because sometimes, like your issue, right? Like, I feel like your parents can handle this better. They can not isolate you like this. They can be more understanding. So I feel like when a family is being toxic, it's perfectly okay to you know what, you're not good for my betterment in any way.
But then again, they're people. They'll have their own things, their own hang-ups.
Which I always say,
that.
A large part of adulthood is figuring out that your parents are just people, and that they can be shitty.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean?
We don't have to put them on a pedestal as perfect humans who have figured everything out, but because they haven't, because they're still figuring their way out from where they are.
Sure.
For us to get to their point is a whole different thing.
Yeah, and something about this whole accident, this whole Alzheimer's, I don't know, for some odd reason, everybody just stepped up their game, stepped up to the plate, and everybody's doing their bit.
And that happens, around Jan, my manager, who was really close to me, who was we started working together from last year, and he had a brain stroke, which was he's very young, 28, our age. And,
oh my God.
Yeah, and that...
Is he fine now?
No, he's incapacitated, he's gone back to Delhi with his family. But, he was such an important person in my life that he kept pushing me to do comedy more so, and travel more, and do more with my material, which I was just when someone tells me to do something, I'm just I'm not going to do it. That's an inherent system behavior that I have. Yeah. And in Jan, when that happened, that really put me in the spin where I'm this guy just has believed in me more than anybody ever has, to even manage me and just take no money or whatever gigs come money I get, he puts all of it in my account, so I can survive my career as a comic.
What's his name?
Nanak Bhatia.
Okay.
So he's baad mein when you're famous, we'll sort this out. Okay. All of that stuff. So when that happened to him, I was really shook, because we did not know where to go from there. And you know, like we're handling. When I say we, like it was me and other 2 comics who we managed, or the 3 comics we managed. We have to continue with the comedy. We have to keep traveling. We have to keep performing. But at the same time, we also had to like take turns. Process and take turns looking after him because he had no family in Bombay. All the near and dear ones came in the first week and went away, right? So now it was up to us. And even then, like I was in Gujarat for a week, so I was just like off for like 2 weeks from Bombay altogether. So I felt really bad and I couldn't, process. And I was like sitting next to him at the bed, and like that's the thing you were saying, right? You can't capture the nitty-gritties of how grueling it can be. Like the worst part of it you don't even see. When they cough and like they start shaking fervorously, like you don't know what to do. And as glorious as some might make it sound, it's not. It's really painful to go to that grief and. But at the same time, we had to like step it up in terms of I was doing more time on stage. I was getting to forget about what was harrowing in my life. Because same time, like the whole pride situation, my friend's situation, everything is going crazy. And I'm just pushing everything on stage, And thankfully, my comedy is like at a good place in life. Generally, where I can be like, okay, I'm putting in my effort. I deserve to be on my own right now. And then like my mom keeps checking on him as well. And Easter I went back home. Like that's how I even called her, because after a month of me leaving home, I was visiting him. My best friend and boyfriend were there, and she was like, "Have you called your mom?" I'm like, "No." Like just call. Just call. And I called her, and then I just like broke down, dude. I never expected that to happen, but my mom and I were really like
this sort of stuff can really
ruin you.
No, not ruin you, but it can just put. Not perspective even, but it can just like make you think so much about who you are as a person, where you are as a person, and all of those things. And it's kind of selfish to make it about you in these. And I'll tell you where I'm coming with this. I spent, and I think this is a valid fear, because again, my shrink told me this, but like there was a good amount of time where I was terrified that my parents are getting old, and I'm sure this is a feeling that a lot of people go through, where you watch your parents get old and you just don't know how to process that, right? And for some odd reason, I always thought that it's sad that they're getting old. But when something as definitive, like something like this happened, like when my dad met with an accident, Alzheimer's and all of that, it actually was none of that. And I felt so stupid that I spent so much time being terrified of, oh my God, my parents are getting old, that's so sad, and it totally changed to like, hey, this is my way of saying thank you now. Like, just whatever it is, like for buying me a chicken burger after school or whatever it is, I just felt like I need to give it back to my father at least. Like, just for being there and he was a great parent. I have know this. He was a fantastic parent. I just felt like it was none of what I expected it to be. And it was such a fulfilling and, I wasn't terrified at all. I absolutely loved it. Even whether it was washing his ass or like feeding him for a couple of days or like putting out like fucking dozens of medication like in different those pill what are they called, you know what I'm talking about,
the weekly boxes,
like filling those up, and it just suddenly felt like, hey, this is the right thing to do in a time when he requires or he needs me in any way. So I feel like it's been a good okay, so if I go back to post 377, I feel like I might have grown as a person way more, and I know it and it feels amazing.
It's the sense of maturity that like you never had before.
Different sense of maturity.
Like I purchased the wardrobe second hand and all of that. I moved it from one place to the other, like with the tempo movers. And I purchased the fridge second hand. I purchased everything second hand basically. That's how my life is right now. It's second hand right now. But it's good. It's like as long as it works, life's good enough. And that's what it's all about.
And congrats, man, on the relationship.
Thank you.
9 months right now. And 9 months in gay years is actually 2 years.
You know what like usually like for me 3 months is the boredom period.
When I dated for 4 years, I kind of counted like anywhere between 6 to 8
eternity,
years.
right? It's like feels forever.
No, just because there are so many trenches and like so many pitfalls. There are so many pitfalls in a gay relationship, which I feel like is an entirely different conversation. But like, you just fucking give yourself a pat on the back for every month that you make it without either you being a dick or your partner being a dick. And there I'm being cynical.
We keep a count. But that's true. Like in a relationship, you start keeping count. It's been 4 days since we haven't fought. Like, wow, that's a new line. Let's start fighting.
This is your first time. Are you in a live-in
situation? This is the first time.
Any straight off the bat reviews? Like what?
It's difficult sparing your space, not even sharing your space. I just feel like if I have like a leg space which I enjoy, and if like he's sleeping there, then I'm bound to keep my leg on his face. Like that's how it is right now. So that's how what living in is about. But it's really like finding a rhythm, letting them be themselves and you be themselves, and cuddle at the right time. That whole up and down. You will see him more. You'll hear more from him this season. So I'm glad that he's also going to be around. And I'm glad that we're all like back in the studio, back doing what we love to do. Opening up about our shit, and we're still keeping it queer, man. Yeah. So
queer for Rams.
Exactly. So we'll start with the next episode where we'll start interviewing guests. Also, we'll bring them on board.
Totally.
And have a little bit of a chit chat with them.
Yeah.
So tell your friends about the show, of course, and start keeping it queer.
Yeah, and I just want to know: is there a place where people can actually send us any questions if they have, or like anything?
So it's on Instagram, right? Like on a personal Insta.
Yeah, I really wish people do that, because sometimes I feel like what you discuss and what I discuss is so specific to us. But I love to hear what other people think. Definitely, if in any way we can have a conversation, have a dialogue about what's happening out there.
For sure. So let's do one thing, Farhad. Like how about on Mondays, every Monday, you and I do a Q&A on our Instagram.
I would love that.
Just like we start with a story where people can send in their Q&A. Yeah, Qs rather, not A's. So any suggestions for topics we need to discuss or questions that you have around sexuality, 377, what's it like afterwards,
anything under the sun.
Anything under the sun. Yeah.
Even if you're straight.
Especially straight people. If you want to know about our lives, every Monday at around 1 p.m. Just keep a time for it.
Sure.
Okay, every Monday 1 p.m. go to Instagram stories.
Done.
Farhad is on
Farhad Karkaria. You can just look me up.
I'm Navin Noronha, also known as House of Noronha.
I'm very active on Twitter now, by the way.
Who cares?
Okay.
Twitter's dying.
Just shut the fuck up. I love Twitter.
It's a comet that's...
I can't believe I'm in love with Twitter after so long.
So then tweet to us as well. Farhad Karkaria, Navin Noronha.
Yeah.
So tell us what you want to talk about and we'll talk about that stuff. Okay?
Cool.
Until then, we are keeping it queer.
Bye.
And for more shows on the IVM network, do check out other IVM shows and go to ivmpodcast.com.
Hi, I'm Ronnie Screwala, first-generation entrepreneur and co-founder at Upgrad. My podcast, Dreaming with Your Eyes Open, is a companion podcast to my best-selling book, Dream with Your Eyes Open. On this podcast, I talked to Amit Doshi, founder of IVM Podcast, about my entrepreneurial journey. I walk you through my successes and failures, mostly my failures, and the lessons that I learned from my experiences, family, and colleagues. What was my first entrepreneurial venture? Why I chose Japanese cartoons over animation cartoons on Hangama? Why did I sell my stake at UTV to Disney? Find out all this and more on the Ronnie Screwala podcast, Dreaming with Your Eyes Open. New episodes out every Tuesday on the IVM Podcasts app, website, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
India's a massive subcontinent home to truly stunning diversity. Behind the veils of smoke that obscure our thriving cities, our history is still alive, glimmering like sequins, waiting to be discovered. And if you, like me, are straining to hear the echoes of our past, this podcast is for you. I'm Anirudh Kanisetti, a history and geopolitics researcher, and I host Echoes of India, a history podcast about India, by Indians, and for Indians. In Echoes, we journey through the complex histories of South Asia and what they can teach us about our globalized world. Tune in every Wednesday on ivmpodcast.com or your favorite podcast app.